Hello everyone, welcome to another episode of TCG Talk, back today with another video. In today's video, we're going to go over our weekly Katsu deck tech update. I haven't done one of these in like 2-3 weeks, mostly because I've been playing pretty much the same deck while also putting out other content. So this deck isn't going to change a whole lot from the last deck tech that you saw, but this deck tech, I did change like one or two cards, like just kind of random cards. But also what I want to do with this deck tech is I kind of want to go more in depth because this is the deck I'm running. This is the deck I'm going to be running for a while. May change up a card or two here for fun to test out, but like overall, this is the deck I want to go. Like if I were going to an event tomorrow, this is the deck I'd be taking. So, kind of take that for what it's worth. I'll try to put timestamps down below. It's not going to be like an hour-long video, but it's not going to be like my normal 12-minute, 10-minute update video. It's going to be probably like 15, 20 minutes. So stick around if you want to know kind of more in depth on what my reasoning is for what I picked with this deck and like where I'm trying to go with it. So the core of this deck, if you didn't watch the last deck tech update I did, or you haven't watched my recent videos, I've recently changed from Snapdragon Scalers build to a Breezrider Boots build with Aggro Katsu. Now, some people are going to be like, you're crazy, you're nuts, like, what are you doing, right? But basically what I did is I used to use Snapdragon Scalers. I took that out completely in place of that's not Breezrider Boots. That's Breezrider Boots. In place of Breezrider Boots, right? What I also do is I ended up taking Snatch out of the deck because it just doesn't fit as well with my Breezrider Boot kind of makeup and build. And some people are like, you're crazy, you're nuts, like, why would you not have Snatch in the deck? But with the build I'm trying to go for, Snatch is not as useful. It's actually sometimes even a detriment, and I'll try to show you why. But so that's the first thing I did is I took Snatch out, took Snapdragon Scalers out, now I'm running a Breezrider Boots build. So for Katsu, right, running the two Kodachis, obviously that's no surprise there. Mask of Momentum. I have Findel Spring Tunic in the main board now, right, for most matchups. The only matchup I don't run Tunic in is Brute, Chain, Briar, and then sometimes maybe Dorinthia. Dorinthia, if I know it's going to be a Domblade build, I'll run Heart and Cross Trap with that as well. But for the most part, like, this is my equipment loadout, right? So the core of the deck and what I'm trying to do is two-part. One, I'm trying to have consistent threats, on-hit effects, draw effects. In my opinion right now, on the iteration that Katsu is in, if your Katsu deck is built around just like decent damage turns, right, or good damage turns from turn to turn, like, yes, that is a core of what an aggro deck is. But if that's all you're going for, run Chain or Briar, especially Chain. Like, he's just better at it. He's better at pushing damage throughout the whole course of the game. So with Katsu, you got to kind of try to change things up and make it to where it's really frustrating for your opponent and they can't consistently, like, it forces them to make a mistake, right? They're constantly making decision points that are going to force them to make a mistake and not block efficiently and not be able to play their game plan efficiently. Basically, you're almost like psyching out your opponent when you play as Katsu. And that's what I'm trying to do with Breezrider Boots and with this build. What I'm trying to do is I'm trying to mix combo starters. I'm trying to mix even bigger than that, and Razor Reflex is on one side of like my like win condition, right? Get those combo stars out, use Razor Reflex even bigger than that to give cards go again, and then be able to play out those big, lines that everybody knows about Katsu. The other side of it with Breezrider Boots is I'm trying to, even on my off turns, be able to present, long, big, wide turns with on-hit effects because Breezrider Boots giving all my combo cards go again after a ninja attack action card hits. And I'll try to go into that and what I mean about that here in a second. So the first things we'll go over kind of the easy things and the things that haven't changed a whole lot. One is my cards that are not attack actions. Anybody that follows my channel knows these really haven't changed. We're running 3 Razor Reflexes, 3 Ancestral Empowerments, 3 red even bigger than that, and 2 yellow even bigger than that. And then in our blues, we also now have 2 Lunging Presses, not just 1, but 2. So I'm at 3, 6, 9, 12, 13 cards that are not attack actions. I would not go above this in any form of Katsu. Personally, I just don't think when you start going above this, you're not playing Katsu. I've heard a lot of really intelligent people on, some of the pro players and content creators talking about how this format and Flesh and Blood in general really benefits you to be doing the same thing. Like, your whole deck should be centered around one central idea. And if you're doing a bunch of different things or trying to do multiple things, like 3-4 things, it hurts your deck, right? Everything should be focused around something. So in a Katsu deck, like, he's doing, he's aggro, he's on hit effects, he's psyching out his opponent, he's doing this, that, and the other. So if you have a bunch of different cards that aren't attacks, it really hurts your ability to do that game plan. Yes, you can kind of like psych out your opponent with all your attack reactions, but he knows eventually you're going to draw a dead hand. So that's why I do what I do. But I'm running 13 in total. We'll put these back on the blues, and I don't see that changing. I won't go anymore. Well, some people ask me about Art of War. I personally don't like Art of War. I think it's inconsistent with Katsu. Like, yes, can it definitely help you with some different turns? And are there builds that work better for it? Sure. But overall, I think it clunks your hand up more than it helps it, because let's just face it, Art of War is a chain specialization. That card was built for chain. It was made for chain. I don't care what they say. With Katsu, it can kind of hurt you sometimes. If your Katsu deck is built properly, in my opinion, you don't want to discard anything. Unless it's a crap turn, like 3 blues in your hand or something. And if that's a turn, I don't want to Art of War that turn either, because that's horrible, right? So I don't enjoy Art of War. For blues, obviously the 2 lunging presses that you all just saw. 3 Soul Beach Strike blues, 3 Lord of Winds, 3 Winds of Eternity, 2 Flush to Fist, and 2 Fine Centers, and then 2 lunging presses. So a couple things here. One, Lord of Wind, like we don't have to talk about that. Everybody knows that that's a blue you run in Katsu. No big deal. Winds of Eternity, I'm running these because I'm running 300 wins. So worst case scenario, I can go get Winds of Eternity, and it's for 4. And I can cycle 100 wins back in my deck. And if it's off a Breezrider turn, it's 4 go again, which is really good. Soul Beach Strike is one that I get asked about a lot. I'm going to start addressing some of like the comments I normally get with my deck text. So Soul Beach Strike, I run Soul Beach Strike because it's fantastic. It's just good. It's a 2 power blue, so it doesn't whiff on even bigger than that. You can, at worst case scenario, you can play it as an attack, and if it hits, it's go again. No one wants to block a 2 power attack. I don't care who you are. And it blocks for 3. It hits all the wickets for a blue. Like, why would you not put this in your deck, especially with the aggro build? I think it's an auto include to me. For the rest of the blues, like, you can mix and match anything you want. Don't come at me in the comments of, oh, you use 2 Fine Centers as a flex, or oh, you use this, whatever. I don't know what y'all are on sometimes. For the last 4 blues, you can run any combination you want as long as it is a 2 power card that blocks for 3. Because what I'm trying to do with all my blues, with the exception of these 2 cheeky lunging presses, is I'm trying to be able to not whiff on even bigger than that in worst God sake scenario, and I'm trying to be able to block for 3. That's, if you notice, like all these blues are block 3 blues that are 2 power, so they don't whiff on even bigger than that. All of them. So that's my goal. And then the last 2 lunging presses, again, for obvious reasons, being an attack reaction. So I'm running 15 blues in the deck. I've ran anywhere from 13 blues to 18 blues, or even ran 19 blues. 15 blues is a good number for me. And for the deck that I have, you might have to go up or down depending on what cost power cards you have. But with Tunic resources, and with even bigger than that, giving stuff go again, stuff like that, I don't have as big as of an issue paying for stuff. I really haven't had an issue, to be honest with you. So, getting into the other parts of the deck, right? So we'll go into option 1 with this deck, which is obviously like regular combo lines, right? So we have leg tap. The leg tap line, we're running 3 leg taps, 2 rising knee thrust, 1 blackout kick, 1 hurricane technique. And then we're running the surging line. It's down here. Run the surging line, which is the obvious one, right? 3 surging strikes, 3 red whelming gust waves, 2 McGinchy releases, and then obviously the 3 Lord of Winds in the sideboard. And then what we're running, we're running 2 more lines. So we're running the Break Tide line, which I used to hate, but I'm loving it now with Breezrider boot build. 3 Torrent Tempos, running 2 Rushing Rivers, no Flood of Force. Don't run that card. It's horrible. Please don't run that card. I don't care if you do right now, and if you get offended, you get offended. Don't run that card. It's not good. And then 2 Break Tides. This line in Snapdragon builds, I would not run. It's too inconsistent. With Breezrider boots, even bigger than that, as like a subsidiary to help get the line going, it's fantastic. Only run it if you have Breezrider boots. That's just my opinion. If you run it in snaps, you can. I just don't think it's as optimized. And then the last build, which I'll try to put like over here, is 3 red head jabs, 1 open the center, and 2 fluster fists. So I'm running the head jab line as well. These are the main lines that I'm running, right? Additionally, with attacks, we're running 300 wins and 3 enlightened strikes. So that's the core of our deck when it comes to attacks, and that's what we're running right now. So here's where I made the decision to go to Breezrider boots, and here's why, right? So when you're running with Snapdragon scalers, right, you're running this build with snappies. Normally, I'd probably not have the Break Tide line in there and have Snatch, but if you're running this with Snapdragon scalers, your play lines for the most part become predictable. Now, does that mean Snapdragon Scalers is bad? No, it still is very oppressive. It forces the opponent to block. But on Snatch, on like a Whelming Gust Wave going into McGinty, whatever it may be, like they know when you're going to snap and they can predict your future play lines, which then allows them to be able to carve out their turn, carve out their defense, carve out what they need to do for next turn, stuff like that. Whereas with Breezrider boots, the difference is there's no information given most of the time, and I'll get into that in a minute. And I kind of went into this in my last video, but I want to go into it again kind of more in depth while we're presenting the deck. But with Snapdragon Scalers, your normal targets are Snatch, Enlightened Strike, maybe a Whelming Gust Wave, and stuff like that. But right now, since we have all these even bigger than that in our deck, you think about it, right? We have now, in this build alone, which this build's somewhat similar when it comes to combo starters, right? In this build alone, we have 3, 6, 9, 12 combo stars with automatic go again. So 12 cards. We then have 5 even bigger than that. So that's at 17 cards that either have go again or can give a card go again. And then we have 3 razors. So we have 20 cards in the deck, right? We have 20, a third of our deck can either has go again or can give go again. So why would I not try to? So one side of it is like you could obviously run snaps and be like, wow, I'm even giving more stuff go again, right? Like it's even going harder into the game plan, which makes sense. But my thought process is I want to be less predictable. So I'm going to run Breezrider boots, and I'll tell you why. So option A, obviously, is to lead with one of these combo starters, go into our combo lines, maybe run a couple different cards, and come out with high damage turns, especially the Surging Line being able to present that draw effect, Break Tide being able to present that banish effect, stuff like that. What Breezrider boots does is it does 2 things. One, it makes cards like these, Blackout Kick, way more scary. It makes cards like even, a Rushing River way more scary depending on when you're playing it. It makes all these different cards a little bit more threatening, and it forces the opponent to block, right? I can't tell you how many turns where I've been able to play like a Blackout Kick for 7 go again and still have a card or 2 in hand threatening mass trigger. Like a card in hand threatening mass trigger, so I could have 2 cards with go again. It's really threatening, right? Or I've had a Break Tide on a mass trigger 5 dominate, where it's 5 dominate go again. It also is threatening banish and threatening mass trigger, right? I've had that happen several times. So what Breezrider Boots does is allows you to play out lines with limited information that the opponent has, and it allows you to just mix up your play lines, quite frankly. So that's the core of the deck. That's what I'm trying to do. With Breezrider Boots, what I'm trying to do is be able to play out multiple lines. I've given this example in several videos, but just for the sake, in case this is the first time that someone is visiting the channel, right? Let's say you have a leg tap, which is what I just pulled up in Arsenal. Let's say your Tunic is up, like you have a Tunic resource floating, right? Try to make this as visual as possible. Tunic resource floating, leg tap in Arsenal. And then let's say you have a 5-card hand, which is any blue. Let's just say Lord of Wind. And make sure I do this right, y'all. So let's say you have Lord of Wind, Rushing River, Rising Knee Thrust, and it could really be any card, or like a Whelming Gust Wave, right? So at this point in the game, if you have a Snapdragon Scalers build, you're probably gonna go Kadachi, leg tap, Rising Knee Thrust, which is still really good, right? And then if Rising Knee Thrust hits, you'll discard Whelming Gust Wave, go get Blackout Kick, use your Tunic resource to play Blackout Kick. Still a really good line. My thought process is if I have Breezrider Boots, I'm able to mix up 2 different lines together and be able to do different things, right? So I have multiple lines I can do here. I can do the Blackout Kick line, and if I play Kadachi, leg tap hits, pop Breezrider Boots. So now all cards to combo of go again. Play Rising Knee Thrust for 5 go again. You discard on the first. So you discard here. So when leg tap hits and you pop Breezrider Boots, you have 2 options here. You can play Rising Knee Thrust for 5 go again the next turn, but what you can do is I can Katsu trigger, and I can either go get Break Tide, right? I can Katsu trigger, get rid of Rushing River and go get McGinty, and then play McGinty on Whelming Gust Wave after my Rising Knee Thrust. Like there's multiple lines you can do because Breezrider Boots gives cards combo cards go again. I literally have 3 lines here, right? If I Kadachi leg tap with a blue, so I have none floating, but I have that 1 Tunic resource. I essentially have 3 play lines I can play because of Breezrider Boots, right? The first play line is I Katsu trigger, I discard Whelming Gust Wave, right? And then I go get Break Tide. Then I play Rising Knee Thrust, Rushing River, and then Break Tide. So you're playing 5 Go Again, then you're playing Rushing River for 3 Go Again, then playing Break Tide for 5 Dominate Go Again, banish a card on hit. You're going to get a match trigger in that time frame unless they just dump their whole hand. And even if they dump their whole hand, you're still going to do a lot of damage. At that point, you're doing 5, 10, 14, 17, 18, 19 damage with your Kodachis, right? So that's one play line. You can't do that play line with Snapdragon Scalers. You can do that play line. Well, you can, but it wastes snaps, right? Like, why would you do that? Waste snaps on a Rushing River turn. Another thing you could do is you could play the McGinty line out, right? You could discard a Rushing River, go get McGinty, play Rising Knee Thrust into Whelming Gust Wave, then Whelming Gust Wave into McGinty release. Like, it just allows you to flip into play lines like simultaneously without your opponent getting a lot of information in order to make a decision on how they want to block, right? So the key to getting, and that's just one example, like there's a ton of examples, but the key to playing Breezrider Boots with this build and the core fundamental of the deck is to force your opponent to have to make decisions with very, very little information available, right? In Snapdragon Scaler builds, typically there's a lot of, not a lot, but a decent amount of information available, and the opponent can kind of forecast what you're going to try to do for the most part. In a Breezrider Boots build, they can't do that. Because what I'm trying to do on Breezrider turns is I'm trying to use cards like Head Jab, Leg Tap, Surging Strike, and even something like 100 wins in order to pop Breezrider Boots, right? I've had turns where I had a Tunic resource, I pitched a blue for 1, Surging Strike, played a Whelming Gust Wave for draw a card, go again. But before I played that Whelming Gust Wave, I had a Break Tide in hand. So I Katsu triggered, got rid of 1 card in hand because I already had Whelming in hand, Katsu triggered 1 card, went and got Rushing River, popped Breezrider Boots. Then I played out Whelming into Rushing River into Break Tide, right? So there's different things you can do with the deck depending on what your play lines is. And sometimes that might be better because if it's early in the game, running a full Lord of Wind combo, like, although good, it's not as useful because you can't pump Lord of Wind. You're not going and getting any targets from grave. So it's not as useful as it could be. So you might want to save it and wait, right? So you pop Breezrider Boots and do the Break Tide line, which essentially is going to give you a 6-card hand. So that's simply what I'm trying to do. And then some people will say, well, how do you, do you lose gas, right? Do you lose gas when it comes to your turns? Like, once Breezrider Boots is popped, like all these cards right here, do they all lose gas a lot? And the answer is no. And the reason is because cards like Razor Reflex and even bigger than that, right? These are the cards that keep your gas going even after Breezrider Boots is gone. I can't tell you how many times already, even playing this deck for 2-3 weeks, that I've Kodachi'd once, they let it hit. I normally say even bigger than that after the second Kodachi, I get it. But Kodachi the second time, before that attack resolves, play even bigger than that, or after the first Kodachi if you don't have a Tunic resource. I usually have played Open the Center, like with Go Again from even bigger than that. It hit because they had already tried to block once with the second Kodachi. And then you play Fluster Fist. You go get Fluster Fist, and you play Fluster Fist for 0 for 6, right? Because it 1 Kodachi and then Open the Center hitting. I've had several turns like that because even bigger than that gave Open the Center go again. Even bigger than that can give things like Torn Tempo go again. It can give things like Rushing River go again. I've had several times where I've Kodachi, then played even bigger than that. Played a Rushing River off of the even bigger than that with go again. They don't want to block it out, honestly, because it's a 3 with go again, right? At that point, I still have, anywhere from 2 to 3 cards in hand because I've only pitched 1 blue and then played the Rushing River. So I either have 2 cards in hand, 1 card in arsenal, or 2 cards in hand. And then I go get Break Tide, pop Breezrider Boots, play Break Tide, 5 Dominate, go again, still have 1 to 2 cards in hand, and I'm threatening Mass Trigger at that point, right, on the next turn. So there's a lot of things you can do that with even bigger than that to kind of supplement for not having Snapdragon Scalers, right? And then obviously Razor Reflex just gives stuff go again, which I'll use, when I need to use it. But yeah, that's the core of the deck, right? It's I guess the main win condition of the deck is to be able to play out different lines, but also present less information than you normally would in a normal Katsu build. Normal Katsu builds, once you play them a lot, in my opinion, even with a really good Katsu pilot, can be very targeted and be very played around, if the best way. If you're just doing pure damage, it can be played around. But with this kind of build, if I'm just presenting those combo stars and they know I have Breezrider boots, their decision-making process is way harder because they know I can switch combo lines mid-combo because I have Breezrider boots. So like if I play a leg tap with Breezrider boots in play, they're like, okay, if this was a snaps build, he might go get Rise Knee Thrust and then play that out, or he might already have Rise Knee Thrust and go get Blackout Kick, but I know what the line's going to be. I know what I need to block, right? Whereas with a Breezrider Boots build, they're like, crap, well, if he has Rise Knee Thrust and Break Tide, he's going to go get Rushing River, and then it's going to be hard to block that Break Tide out, and it's going to have to go again, and he's going to be able to keep playing his turn. You see what I'm saying? Like, there's a lot more things the opponent has to take into account when you're running Breezrider Boots. That's just my opinion and how I play the deck. I'm not saying this is the way to play Katsu by any means. I'm just saying this is a way for me that, in my opinion, has made the deck so much more oppressive against opponents and made it a lot harder for people to block me out and not be able to play against me properly. Especially in a meta where a lot of the decks like Prism and and Starvo and even Bravo and even Oldheim can block very efficiently, or like use their cards to have to make you like lose gas a little bit, right? Especially with Prism. This deck allows them to have to think twice and be more prone to making a mistake, right? So that's the basis of the deck. Hopefully it made sense to you all. It's pretty good for me. I'm really enjoying it. The deck list will be below, and it's a deck that, like I said, if I was going to an event, this would be the deck I'd take tomorrow. For the sideboard, really quick, sorry about this, y'all. I should have went over that. The sideboard, I have three pieces of equipment. I have 2 Null Rune. I'm not gonna lie, I'm not respecting Kano probably like I should. I just haven't played against a lot of Kanos. If I was going to like a national event, I probably would take out like, I don't know, 1 Sink Below or 1 Flick Flack and add in 1 extra piece of Null Rune so I could make sure I don't die to a Kano. But I'm running 2 Command and Conquers. I don't run 3. The card's still amazing, but it's not as good as it used to be. And personally, I just only run 2 because I'm running against like Ranger, Viscerai, Chain, cards that like or heroes that really value their arsenal. Playing against Starvo and Oldheim's just kind of stupid. It doesn't do anything and like forces their crown, sure, but like not that big a deal. I'll play against Prism as well. For the Sink Belows, this is good for any decks that want to cycle my hand more so. Decks like Dorinthia and decks like where I don't want to lose 100%, like cannot afford to lose gas, or like Chain. I'll put in Sink Belows because if I'm on defense and I notice that I have a bad hand, I can run Sink Belows and hopefully be able to cycle my hand. Like if I don't have a blue or something like that, I'll be able to cycle. It's really useful for that. I run 2 Immovables. I run these against, obviously, the Guardians. I run them against Dawnblade Dorinthia. And then I run them against... That's about it for the most part, to be honest, is Guardian and Dorinthia. I have to look at my sideboard guide off the top of my head, but most of the time it's like in practice, it's been Dawnblade, Dorinthia, and the Guardians. And then Flick Flag is obviously for like also Chain. I'll run that sometimes against Chain. I'll run if I know it's an Axis Dorinthia or like a anything where I just want to kind of value block. I'll run against it. Briar is definitely one I'll run against because if she's on her Channel Mount Heroic turn, like there might be a time where I want to block out a little bit more. So being able to have a combo card block for 5 is super nice, right? 2 cards that block for a total of 9 for 0 cost is super great. So yeah, that's the sideboard for the most part. Pretty simple. Katsu sideboard is one of the simplest in the game, so hopefully it makes sense to y'all. But there should be a sideboard guide in this new list. If not, I'll update it this upcoming week, and you all can see it there. Hopefully this list made sense though. I want to do like one of those like hour-long deck techs where you just go card by card, but I kind of want someone with me to do that, right? I don't want to just sit here and ramble for an hour. I don't know. I just don't want to. But hopefully it's made sense to y'all. Hopefully y'all are enjoying your decks, whether it resembles this one or whether it's something completely different. It's totally fine. I'm really enjoying Katsu right now and enjoying where he's at in the meta. And the more that Guardian goes the way, the stronger he gets, in my opinion. So it's really useful for that. But yeah, hopefully y'all have a good rest of your week. Let me know what type of content y'all want to see, and I'll see y'all next time on TCG Talk. Thank y'all so much.